neglected. Some things, now you've seen, those are the 10 steps of turning your passion into profit. But some of the things you have to consider, now that I'm assuming you've turned your passion into profit and now you have a business that is running, some of the things that you have to consider are these ones. Why I'm saying that is because there are so many people. I think the survey some years back said that Uganda is one of the most entrepreneurial countries. Yeah, so we have a lot of entrepreneurs and we have a lot of enterprises that are cropping up every day. But the mortality rate of the businesses we have in Uganda is also high. Okay, so they're saying that 90% of the businesses don't survive to celebrate their first anniversary. So it means only 10% of businesses survive the first year. Then out of those that survive, only 70% survive their third year or their fifth anniversary. So you can imagine the mortality rate is really high. And because I do business mentorship, from the businesses I've interacted with, some of these things, basic fundamentals, are the things that make them fall over. And one of the things that I see is failure for us to separate ourselves from our businesses. So you find, because you're starting your business small, it started small, and so let's say I'm coming from work and I need to buy plants. Of course, naturally, what would I do? I'll get money from my purse, which is from my salary, of course, and I buy stock and I take to the business. But do I have a way of recording that this money didn't come from the business, came from somewhere else, or how do I refund myself? But that is not possible if you don't have proper books of accounts. And one of the things that has helped me and will help you is to separate yourself from your business, that you treat the business separate from you. And the easiest and the best thing that you have to do is to open a business bank account. Because if you open a business bank account, it means that all the sales that come from the business go into that bank account. All the sales are going to that bank account. All the expenses come from the bank account to the business. Initially, when I was starting from home, of course, I didn't start by opening a bank account. So I'm just being as realistic as possible. So when I was starting out from home, I didn't start by opening a bank account. But what I did was, every time, remember the first, how I know how much money I started with is because when I bought the first set of pots and I bought the logo, I recorded it down. Okay, so how much did the pots cost me? How much did the logo cost me? When I got the first sale, I recorded it down. And I have, from the first sale that I made the first day, it was recorded down. And so I'll keep on recording the money coming in, the money going out, the money coming in, the money going out. And what I did was to have an envelope because the business was just starting small and starting at that time. So I had an envelope where I would keep the money for the business initially. And then when I registered the business name, and because you can't open a bank account if you've not registered a business name. So when I registered the business name, now I was able to open a bank account. And therefore, I was able to do what? To start banking money directly. But even before I opened the bank account, I knew how much money is for the business. I knew how much money I have put in the business, how much money the business has generated from the sales, how much money the business has spent. The discipline of record keeping is very, very key. Now, once you have established the business and it's running, you have a business account, you have to have source documents. When people buy things from you, do you receipt it? Okay? If you sell something, you have to give someone a receipt. Because if you don't give someone a receipt, you will not remember. I don't know, unless you're selling a couple of things a day, but when you're selling so many things, a receipt helps you later on to put your books in order, and you see what are your sales for that particular day, that particular week, that particular month, that particular year. If I ask you now, if you're in a business, how much sales did you make last month? Are you able to do that? But when you have the source documents, it's easy, especially if you're not an accountant, it's easy to put the documents together and give an accountant to compile and produce for you your financial reports. So the source documents will include receipts. The source documents will include invoices if you're going to sell some things on credit. The source documents will include local purchase orders if you do deliveries. The source documents will include quotations if you give quotations. The source documents will include payment vouchers, if you're paying for. And if you don't have these documents already, you'll find that you get a business opportunity and then the documents are the ones that are making you not get the business. I know one of my friends who is also in the same business as me. was telling me she failed to supply a company who wanted potted plants because they asked for an invoice and she didn't have an invoice. Can you imagine? She failed to make a sale just because she didn't have an invoice. And so for me, from earlier on, I knew I needed to have receipts, I need to have invoices, I need to have all these things in place. So there was this time I was online and I got a message from someone. I'd posted pots, and so I got an inbox from someone who said, we need some pots supplied for around the swimming pool. And so I'm like, okay, so how many? At that time, I didn't know whether it's for the person's home or it's for a business. I didn't have an idea. They just said we want pots to put clay pots to put around the swimming pool. And so I'm like, okay, fine. So I asked them, okay, how many? Then they say they need, I think, 10 pots, 10 or 12 pots. And I'm thinking, wow, this person's swimming pool is big if it is for home. Because previously I supplied some pots for someone, I think 4 pots for a swimming pool. And so we went on with the conversation. And then he said, can you actually send me a quotation today? That same day, he wanted a quotation. Now imagine if I didn't have a system of raising a quotation, I'll just be fumbling around what to do. But I already had a system for raising a quotation. So I went I was doing, you can do these things, hard copies or soft copies. So I went and I raised a quotation and I emailed it to them. So he gave me the email address. Now looking at the email address, I saw it was Protea. I'm like, wow, okay. So Protea is ordering pots from me. And I was excited. Wow, I'm supplying a hotel. So they ordered. So they said, send me what did they send? The quotation. So I sent the quotation. After that, they sent me a local purchase order. After they sent me the local purchase order, they said, now you send us an invoice and you deliver the thing. So I told them when I was going to deliver. I was supposed to deliver, I think, within 2 weeks. Now, if you do not have good working capital, it means, therefore, you may not be able to do you may not be able to deliver on that offer because for their policy, they pay on delivery. They're not going to give you money first. You go buy the pots, paint them, deliver them. No, they just wanted to deliver the pots. So it meant that we had to have the money to buy the pots, paint them, I think there were 12 pots, and take them to Protea Entebbe. Okay? So we reach Protea Entebbe, and at the gate, they say, okay, so we say we are delivering, and say, you have to have a delivery note. We don't receive things without delivery note. So you can imagine if I didn't have a delivery note. So we give a delivery note, and then they say, okay, fine, you have to give us the invoice because you don't pay cash. And we have to pay it in your bank account. So imagine this transaction. If I didn't have quotation, I didn't have invoice, I didn't have a delivery note, and I didn't have a bank account, how would I have done that transaction? But all these things were not done that time when we were having this conversation. The business had been prepared initially to be ready for that. And that's what I tell business people. Those people who don't want to register their businesses, don't want to formalize their businesses. I say, how far do you want your business to grow? If you want your business to one day grow away from home, out of home, you have to just have systems in place. You have to embrace formality. You have to formalize your business. You have to professionalize your business. Otherwise, you'll not be able to do business with the big companies because that is how they do these things. So you have to have receipts. So the next thing is you have to make sure that all these sales that you get, they are banked intact. Why I'm saying that is because I've seen so many businesses, they make sales, but the sales are not banked. They're not banked intact. There's this client I was working with, and so I'm helping them set up their system. And so I sell QuickBooks accounting software. So I installed the accounting software for them. I showed the accountant how to enter the transactions and everything. So we've done transactions for 1 month. And so I went there, I'm saying, okay, so we're going to do bank reconciliation. They bring the bank statement to do the bank reconciliation. I'm looking at the bank statement, and they only banked like 3 million the whole month. But from their cash book, they made sales of more than 30 million. So I'm like, this month you made sales like 30 million. So how come your bank account has only 3 million going through it? Like you see now, when people pay, we go and we use that money to buy raw materials to make it to the manufacturing company, to make the different things. Then again, we sell. So money doesn't have time to go to the bank. But what they needed, and even how I came to know them, is because they had to go borrow money for buying some machinery. But the bank could not give them a loan. You know why? Their bank statement was showing that they don't have the capacity to pay back a loan. Now, when you bank your sales directly in the bank, it shows the bank that is your ability for cash flows. Because the banker will not come to your business to see actually how business works. The bank statement is what tells them your business potential. The bank statement is what tells them your liquidity potential. The bank statement is what tells them you have the ability to pay a loan or not. And so if you have proper books of accounts and you are banking all your sales intact, it means you're building your CV with the bank. And so when I say you bank all your sales, I mean that you cannot remove the money and spending. What I mean is, go bank the sales. But when you're withdrawing, it means you're withdrawing with a plan. So you're saying, okay, I need raw materials, I need to pay rent, I need to pay ABCD. So I am withdrawing with a purpose. And so it helps you with managing and the discipline of managing your cash. But also another beauty of having your sales banked intact. So some years ago, about 14 years ago, I think. Yeah, maybe about 14 years ago. So we need there's a publication that we do, and we needed a loan, because what was happening is the advertisers say, we are going to pay you when you have brought the book, the publication. And the printer says, no, we want you to pay for us to print. So you're like catch-22. You don't have the money to print because the customers haven't paid you. It was just a new business that we were starting at that time. So we were on catch-22. And so what we did, we were like, okay, we need some money to print. And at that time, we needed about 10 million. Because we had been banking diligently and we had been putting our books in order and everything, so we went to the bank and applied for an unsecured loan of 10 million. And based on the books of account we provide them and our banking history, they gave us 10 million unsecured. You understand? But that would have been a hard thing to do if we did not have the discipline of good record keeping and good banking practice. Write down all your payments and drawings, because if you don't do that, you will not know when you have taken money from the business, when the business has taken money from you, and vice versa. It helps you to track and also helps you to separate yourself from the business. I normally advise people, if you're a business owner, assign yourself a salary. If you're the kind that keeps on drawing money for personal expenses. I've put some people's books and you're finding now they are sending the money to the wife, money to the child for the child's birthday, money for the whatever's, in the books of the business. And you're looking at some transactions and you're thinking, what has this to do with the business? You're looking at things that someone has written in the books. So like, this has nothing to do with the business. It is for the person. They were buying a shirt, they were buying a dress for a conjula or something like that. It should not be in the books of your business. What you have to do is assign yourself a salary, and you use that, you work on that salary. But of course, assign yourself a salary that the business can afford, so that you're not, running the business down. So this particular person, I told them, why don't you assign yourself a salary so that we don't see all your home affairs in the business, And then she said, no, my business cannot afford to pay me a salary. And at that time, I am looking at what he was drawing, and he was drawing on average 1.5 million from the business. Just that he keeps on removing here, removing there, but he was not putting it together. So I said, from my analysis, you keep on getting about 1.5 from your business, which means the business is able to pay you that 1.5. So you assign yourself 1.5 million for now, and you use that money and you see how you can handle. Okay, so it is in writing down the expenditures that you can even track how your business is performing. Another thing that sometimes we fail to do is not to value the non-monetary transactions. For example, when you are setting out one of the businesses, you start with your own laptop. Have you valued that you've given your business the laptop? Because that is a capital in kind that you put in your business. If you use your car for distribution or for buying stock for your business and things like that, have you noted that down? Because it means that there's some value in your business that is missing. So if someone was to value your business, they will not know that you have those assets, that your business is able to run because of those things that the business did not buy but they were being used, your own things that the business was using to generate revenues. But as a business owner, one of the things you have to do is to be able to differentiate between your revenues and your profits. There's a difference between revenues and profits. Revenues are just the thing you're selling times how many units you have sold. The product times the product price times the quantity of the product you've sold. That gives you your revenues. Okay? Then when you have removed the cost of that product and your overhead costs for the business, that's when you made a profit. Otherwise, it is not a profit. And I'm going to show you shortly a cash flow a dashboard that you have to have in your business. And one of the things that you have to do as a good business person when you've established your business is to file your returns and pay your taxes. Because you'll find that as your business grows, there'll be a time when now they're asking you for things like tax clearance certificates and things like that. And if you've never filed any return, you'll have a challenge with getting things like that. If you've opened your doors for operations, you have a trading license, all those different things that are needed for a sound business to run. So when you're turning your passion into profit, it is more than just getting excited with your passion, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. But with that responsibility is where growth comes and is where your business goes to the next level. So I'm going to give you time shortly for questions. If you have those who have questions, I'm going to just have a few slides to continue. So you have to monitor your dashboard. I know I like giving an example of if you have this very, very posh car, like a very, very nice car, but you enter the car and there's no dashboard. You can't see the fuel gauge, you can't see the speed, you can't see anything in the car. How excited will you be to drive that car? You'll be hesitant because do I know if it has fuel? Do I know if it has a problem? You have no idea. Now for our businesses, you have to find a way of knowing how your business is performing. And one of the things the accountant talk, I'm not going to go into details, I'm just mentioning them so that you can find out information about them later on. You have to know if your business is profitable or not. And what the accountants do is to generate what is called a profit and loss statement. That just tells you this is the sales you made, these are the expenses you incurred, and you made a profit or not. So when you have a profit and loss statement and you monitor every year, and every year you see is your business growing or your business is not growing. It is only when you monitor a trend over time that you know that the business is growing or not. You will not know a car, you cannot know the progress of a car if it is on standstill. Until when you start moving, and that's when you know, okay, am I going at 20 kilometers per hour, 100 kilometers per hour, or whatever. So the rate of business growth is measured by your profit and loss statement. Another thing that you have to have in place, and especially in this season of lockdown and COVID and everything, is a cash flow forecast. Like you have fuel in your car, and that fuel informs you, I'm on quarter tank, how far can I go? How many days can I run? I'm on full tank, how many days can I run? In the same way with the cash that you have in your business. When you know where your business goes because you've been keeping good records, you will know the cash that I have now can take me for how long in my business. Can it take me for 1 week, for 1 month, for a couple of months? It's important to be aware of that. But also, when you're starting your business, it's advisable not to start by borrowing. Start with what you have. Start small. Because when you start by borrowing and you've not tested the business idea, the risk is very high because you have the pressure of making the profit but also paying back a loan. So I always advise, if you're starting out your passion from small, start with the resources you have. Start with the loan-free options. And then later on, you can, if you need to grow the business, you can borrow a loan. But when you're borrowing a loan, that's when you have to check your balance sheet and check, am I borrowing too much loan that my business cannot afford? Excuse me, because you can hear someone is very wealthy, but again, they don't have money. So how does it work? It's because the things that they acquired, they were mostly backed up by borrowing, so backed up by debt. So as a business, you have to have a healthy balance between what the business owns and what the business owes. so that you are not just, you easily go into bankruptcy. I'm not going to go into detail on that because it's not a financial management session, but it's just something that I am just saying you as a business owner need to be aware. So I've taken you through the journey of Maua and More. It started from home, just by, potting a few pots and everything. Then I moved to Kensington. That was my first shop, a very small shop. It was an ATM booth where I started with, but I closed it last year, November. But now we are located in Garden City, Middle Parking. If you come to Garden City, don't go down to where Capital Shoppers is. It's on the Middle Parking where Mega Standard is at the exit ramp. That's where Maua and More is. So we sell potted plants, flower pots and stands, garden accessories, and everything to do with gardening. My dream and my aspiration is for it to be a fully fledged garden center, but it has started slowly, it has growing, and it is going to grow there. So for your business, you should reach a place where you can be able to have a flyer like that one, that you share with other people, that you can share on social media. You have to have a contact, you have to have, where you can be found. Something that tells about your business is one of the things that you need to have for your passion to turn it into profit. But I've talked so much about products, and there are people here who are more into service business. They are not into product business. Is it the same journey? More or less the same. One of the passion that I say that I have is sharing knowledge. And for my sharing knowledge, I've been sharing knowledge, of course, on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And most of my followers happen to be accountants. And I used to get a lot of, inboxes. Can you mentor me? Can you mentor me? Can you mentor me? But you can imagine the time that you're mentoring one person for 2 hours or for 1 hour. It is different from mentoring 10 people for the same 1 hour. So I took some time before I accepted the offer to do mentorship for accountants. But in 2018, September, I decided, you know what, let me have a go at this. Let me put together a mentorship program, and I invite accountants to come on board. And I was just like, okay, I don't know if it's going to come through or not, but there's no harm in trying. So I put up a flyer, and I called the project, the program, I called it Accountancy 360. And what I mean, why I call it Accountancy 360, I know the fee is 360, so some people think it's because the fee is 360, that's why it's called Accountancy 360. But it's called Accountancy 360 because my aim was to look at a holistic accountant, an accountant who is a complete person by themselves, but also has the skill set and the right tools to be effective. And so the first session that I sent out, and that's something about your passion, you have to be willing to take the risk of testing your product. You have to be willing to take the risk to test your service. You might be shocked, you might be scared, will this thing work out? But when you test it, and you might get a response that is very encouraging. So for this one, I was a bit scared. This is the current one running, but in 2018, August 2018, I sent out the flyer, and I was like, okay, God, if I just get 10 people, okay, for me to break even, because I needed to hire a venue and pay for my time and everything, for me to break even, I need just 12 people. Like, God, if I just get 12 people, I'm good. And of course, I sent out the flyer, the feedback wasn't so good. And like 1 week to the training, actually the last week, just before the training was going to be a weekend, I shared the power of networking again and bringing it back. I shared the flyer with ACCA, the networks. So when they shared it with the ACCA students and affiliates, I got quite a positive response. The first session that I held for the Accountancy 360, my target was at least 15 people. I got 27 people. And I was like, wow, I was like, okay, I didn't know it's going to be big like that. So I got 27 people. They filled the room to capacity that I hired. Anyway, the long and the short is that training that started in 2018 September has now been running. In 2018, I only ran one session. Last year, 2019, I ran 4 sessions of Accountancy 360. And this year, I've already ran so far 3 sessions. Yes, 2 sessions of accountants 360. So I've made it a regular session because I realized there was demand for it, there was need for it, and so it's become now a regular product that wasn't existing before. It's a product that didn't exist before September 2018. But I was daring to try, I was daring to start. What was interesting is when I did the first session, I should have put the flyer for the first session. I was trying to see how to excite people to come for it, and so I did that. There are free tips on those are going to be a free session on QuickBooks accounting software. And so the first session, I'll do the session 1.5 hours, and then the last 30 minutes I'll talk about QuickBooks. I'll take accountants through how to set up a QuickBooks accounting system and how to use it and everything. And so the session runs for the program runs 5 sessions. On the 4th session, you know how you finish the session at 12 and you're telling everyone, okay, bye, have a nice weekend. And then guys are just sitting there looking at me and I'm thinking, okay, aren't you guys going? And they're not going, they're just sitting. I'm like, okay, is everything fine? Then someone says, now you've been giving us theory of QuickBooks. We are seeing how you're doing it on the screen and it looks like, it's something we want to do. But can we have a practical hands-on session, where we're actually entering the data and seeing the reports coming out? And I was like, okay, that will mean that I'll need to have a practice set, like the actual data for you to interact with. But I need at least 10 people for me to make a session just for QuickBooks. And I said, how many people are willing to come for that session? 10 people raised their hands. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. So we set a date. And in November, we ran the first accounting software training for QuickBooks. And now that's another product that's developed out of another product, as you can see. And of course, the 10 people didn't come, all of them. I got 9 people, and still 9 was good for me, because now being a training the accounting software is really hands-on. And so it means if you have people whose understanding is different at different levels, so it was very, very engaging. So I was like, okay, 9 people, I think even was a lot for the session, but it stretched me. But I was like, you know what? Actually, it's something that I can do. It's something I wanted to do, but I'd never done it because of just thinking, you have an idea, but nothing brings it to the fore. So this group actually made me run a session that I had stopped running, I had not yet done before. And so I'm running the QuickBooks session, and I was like, okay, I need the data set. I need, because it's one thing to say, and another thing to have the capacity to deliver. So I said yes to the training, but I didn't have the practice set. So I was like, God, where do I get the practice set? I didn't want to use my own data from my consultancy and my more and more. So I was like, where do I get the data set to practice? So I went online. No, thank you, Mr. Google helps us, or Uncle Google, whatever you want to call him. So I go online, I'm like typing QuickBooks practice set. And I found there's a QuickBooks practice set on Amazon. And so I ordered, but I was looking the time between the order and the time when it is delivered, because this training, I only gave myself, I think, 2 weeks for the training to start. So I had to put everything together. And so I ordered, I think 1 week for me to get everything together. So I ordered and I paid for it was an express option. From America, the thing was delivered by, what is that courier company? I can't remember the name of that courier company. But they delivered it within 3 days. You can imagine. They delivered it within 3 days. So I got it. I got it on a Thursday. Friday, I had to make the copies ready for the class that was starting on Saturday. It was interesting, but anyway, the short is it was delivered. But I'm just showing you that sometimes opportunities come in very subtle, very ways that are not like so obvious. Now, this other training. So this I'm just hoping for the service people. Now, for the first training, the QuickBooks, the Accountancy 360 training, the first session actually used to be the traits of the indispensable accountant. And one of the things that I was doing in that session, towards the end of the session 1, I talk about personal financial management, because I strongly believe that when an accountant has their personal finances sorted, they will not be tempted to steal money from the business, from the company. So one of the sessions I share my journey on, how I planned to move from employment to consulting. And so I was just sharing, how that journey was, and one of the things that I had to do is to prepare a reserve for that season. And so I was sharing, how to do planning, how to do budgeting, how to be able to have that reserve that you can actually step out of employment and go through there. But what I noticed after that session, there's so many people who are asking, how do I do this? How do I organize my finances? How do I do the same journey as you did? And so I realized when a couple of cohorts people came with that so many questions about personal finances, I realized, what, this is actually a product that can be on its own, because a 30-minute session could not deliver and do justice to it. So I set up this year, so this one I introduced it this year, the journey to financial freedom. And those are the things that we cover in that one. And so the journey to financial freedom, I ran it in February. Yes, I ran it, the first one, I ran it in February, and the next one is running in July. If lockdown is going to be open, otherwise I'll do it online. And so you see how one product gives birth to another product, to another product, to another product. And this product that you're consuming today, which is turning your passion to profit, I hope you're noticing it is session 5 of the journey to financial freedom, turning your passion into profit. And I'm going to tell you a bit about that just shortly. Now, some of the people who come for the Accountancy 360 program, they are not accountants, they're business owners. And the Accountancy 360 focuses more on the accountant and how they can deliver on their role as an accountant. But then when the business owner comes, they are thinking of different things. They're thinking of break-even points, product costing, and things like that. So I have another session that is for management of business finances. This one was born out of the different people who call me to speak to them. I have different incubation centers and accelerators who call me to speak to them about management of business finances. So you have all these different people who have very nice business ideas. They have funding and everything. Money is not their problem. So they have funding, but the issue is how do you manage that money? And so this one has been packaged out of my speaking engagement to entrepreneurs, to small businesses. So I put together the different slides from my speaking engagements, became a course, which is the management of business finances. And if you're interested, if you will have turned your passion into profit by 14th August 2020, you're welcome. And we can have a conversation on how to set up the actual structures for your business. And so this one that you're attending today, on Monday, when I was doing the Accountancy 360 program, and as I told you, the last few minutes of the session talks about personal financial management. And one of the things that I tell them is sometimes when your salary is not enough, you have to look beyond your salary and see how to generate money from different sources and different streams. And I told them, one of the things that you can do is turn your passion into profit. And one person mentioned that, I would like to know how to turn my passion into profit. That was Monday this week. But last week, I was talking to someone, I think she's in this forum, and I was telling her what I do and everything. And I told her one of the things that I do in the journey to financial freedom is talking to people about how they can turn their passion into profit. And then she was like, wow, that would be interesting to attend. And so on Monday, when this lady mentioned that she would like to attend the session, and last week someone else also mentioned about being interested in knowing how to turn their passion into profit, I said, wow, I think I already have a product to offer. And so on Monday evening, I got in touch with the person who is doing the flyer, and I sent him the picture and I gave him the details. And of course, Monday night, I had the flyer out, and Tuesday morning, I sent out the flyer on social media. And today, Saturday, you have attended the session. I'm just showing you that it is practical. It's easy to turn the different passions into training. One of the forums I shared this one, someone was making fun that I've turned my passion for teaching into profit. I had not quite thought about it, because most of the time when I share about turning your passion into profit, I normally use the Maua and Mo story. And so I was like, actually, yes, so you can turn different passions into profit.